Hey, what is up guys, I'm Xteria, and in this video, we're gonna be talking about what are the safest comps to play in patch 15.2a. For those that didn't know, there was a hotfix of the day of the patch, because Kalista was actually broken, like literally broken. She was not intended to delete the whole board with one ability, and there was a few bug fixes that had to be done. Other than that, what I mean by safe comps to play is that these are the strongest comp that we know what to play to gain LP, and later on down the line, I will make a future meta comp video later. This is just what we know for now. Getting right into it, our first safe pick comp we can play in the current meta would be Yuumi Prodigy. Yes, they did nerf 4 Prodigy this patch, but it's still one of the best comps because Yuumi hits like a truck. And to itemize her, you want Gunblade no matter what, plus AP items. It could be Jewel Gauntlet, it could be Death Cap, or you can switch it out with Archangel Staff, or if you have to, you can switch it out with Voice Staff. Either one's fine. As long as you have Jewel Gauntlet, Gunblade, plus whatever, it's good. And Leona with whatever tank items you can, she would be your main tank, and she's actually unkillable. So you'll be playing 5 Academia, and the more Academias you have, the stronger Leona gets. And then next to that, your secondary carry is going to be Malzahar with debuff items like Voice Staff or Morello. Unless you have to put Voice Staff on Yuumi, that's fine. And whatever AP items you can put on Malzahar is great. Like for example, Nashor's is okay if you have to build it, or Death Cap. It's just whatever leftover items you can build. Side note, you can build Adaptives if you need to for Yuumi or Malzahar. Is really good on them. Either one's fine. And say for example you have Prodigy Emblem, just throw it on Cassante. Now you have 5 Prodigy at level 8. If you don't have Prodigy Emblem, then that means you have to play level 9 to push for Seraphine on the board. So you can have the 5 Prodigy in. But let's say you do hit level 9 and you have Prodigy Emblem in. What unit do you take out? Most likely Syndra, just because Seraphine got buffed a little bit, so she's okay. And then from here, your good +1 units could be Zyra, because she can technically put another frontline with her plant. Another good emblem could be Academia Emblem. You can just throw this on Malzahar. That'll be great on him. Then that means you can take away Garen and throw in a +1 Bastion like Braum. This will be great. So yeah, you just mix and match with your units and emblems. So if you don't have 5 Prodigy here, then you just throw in Syndra. So it's pretty easy comp to play. It's just get a bunch of AP items, have decent tank items in Leona. You could put 80 items on Cassante if you have to. If not, just throw in TG or random tank items left over for him is fine. And then debuff items or whatever leftover AP items on Malzahar is great. For your power-ups on Yuumi, the fruits, the best one I would say is Bullet Hell. This one's one of her best because it gives her a lot of damage. Or second best I would say is Star Student. Is actually pretty okay on her because since you're going to be playing 5 Academias anyways, Star Student allows you to do extra damage with Yuumi. And third option I would say is Super Genius is okay. This fruit is actually pretty good because you have a lot of mana regen overall on the board and that converts into AP. If not, this side says Stormbender is okay, but I never take this on Yuumi. Apparently it's okay. The second fruit you want to put on would be Leona. And I would say the best fruits you can put is probably Resistance because this makes her to like a super tank. Unstoppable is kind of whatever. You can take this if you want. I wouldn't say it's the best, but I say the best overall for the Yuumi board would be Selfish because you're going to be doing a lot of damage on the board. Since Malzahar is going to continuously doing damage with his dot. Same with Yuumi, she's going to continuously do damage over time. The extra 5% heal actually means a lot for Leona. So this fruit would be really good on her for the Prodigy Yuumi board. So if I had to choose, either Resistant or Selfish would be best. If not, whatever tank ones you can find. For your opener, the best opener I'm going to show is Syndra, since she is a very powerful unit. And the best first item slams could be Voice Staff, so you can debuff the board. And since you're going to need it later down the line, it's really good. Gives you a lot of AP, and it gives you a lot of attack speed with a lot of mana regen. So this item is just super worth it overall to build as a first item slam. If you can't do that, Jewel Gauntlet is fine, or if you have to, Archangel Staff is also okay, or if you want to, I would say the best one could be Adaptive. So these 3 will probably be the best to slam. If you slam Gunblade on Syndra, you're not going to win rounds. This item is actually kind of useless in the early game. These 3 items are the best for early. And then you just play the typical like Ezreal with Prodigy and Rel with Garen. And then you just make Rel your main tank because you can sell her later. So you can build something like Steadfast is fine to start with, or Gargoyle Stoneplate. Either one's fine. It's just over time you put in more Star Guardian units, Prodigy units, or you can throw in 3 Academia units, like for example Katarina, or better yet Rakan, because you're going to use them later. So you can at least power up the Ezreal, and you can throw in whatever the amount of Star Guardians you want or amount of Prodigies you want, because they go by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 compared to Academia goes by 3 and 5. Next up we got is Volibear with 4 Edgelord and 4 Luchador. This comp is actually the same level as the Cassante from last patch. It's pretty decent overall. Where it really shines is when people kind of low roll their boards, then Volibear can steamroll everything. I feel like the main con of this comp is you also have to itemize Samara if you want to win the game. So you have to use a lot of item augments. And the positioning for this board is very important. You have to position either this way, or you can position like this as well, which is also okay, where you can have your even shroud in the middle and you just put Gnar in the front. Because Gnar is going to jump anyways with Luchador, so this is fine. So you can position like this if you want to. And the reason why this positioning is very important is because this allows Volibear to jump units. So this means that when Yasuo walks up here, Volibear tries to target this unit here, but because he's getting blocked by Yasuo, he retargets to a different unit, which allows him to jump and slam and almost do a lot of damage to that unit that he jumps on. So you do have to position in a certain way where it works. Other than that, for your items, you always want IE and Strikers on Volibear, +1 either Edge of Knight, Sterax, or Hajj is okay. The main item I would say is Edge of Knight would be best, but if you also want to itemize Samira, then you maybe want to use a sword to make another IE for her, and then maybe +1 whatever you can find for Volibear for the third item. The most important tank items you can build is Even Shroud for the armor break. If not, if you don't have that, you can probably build Last Whisper on Samira is fine, and at least Sunfire on your main tank. If not, you can again build like Red Buff or something on Samira, so Red Buff is also fine, or you can build Morellicon if you have to. So either one's okay to do. For you fruits on Volibear, I would say the best one is still Serious Slam. Even though they kind of nerfed it, he's still really good with this fruit overall. Second to that, I would say Final Boss is really good as well, since it gives you Omni Vamp, and whenever an ally dies, which most of the time it will happen, you gain more stacking amp. And then third best would be Finalist. This is okay. Personally, I never take this one, but it's pretty decent because you get some damage amp and you also gain some damage reduction. And for every player that's out of the game, you gain 2% more of each stat. So overall, it's pretty decent to have for Finalist. The second fruit I would say to put on would be Samira if you have 3 items on her. If you don't have any items on her, then don't fruit her. But if you do, I would say like the best fruits could be on the Edge because she's backline unit and she's gonna gain back our health anyways after she casts. Second to that would be like Precision, so she can do a lot of damage with this fruit. And then third, same thing like Volibear, Finalist would be okay if you want it. Or better yet, if your board doesn't have any Sunder, then Sky Piercer would be best. And you just position her behind Volley, and Volley could do work with this fruit behind him. If you want to put a tank fruit, you can. You can just put any of the ones you see here, like Resistance really good on set, or Adaptive Skin is pretty good. I would also say Tank Zilla is pretty decent. If your set can last long enough, this fruit's okay. If he can't last 15 seconds, then don't pick this one. For you opener, the best units to play around would be Neferi and Kalista. The reason why is because these 2 units are very strong in the early game, and this will make you save a lot of HP. And Kalista is also really good as holding IE or Strikers. Either one's fine. Unless you have Edge of Knight, then you can slam that first and put it on Neferi. This is also great. Then you can put in IE and Guardbreaker later, which I mean Strikers, because this is what used to be called back in the day. And then from here, you can just play with like +1 Juggernaut, like Aatrox, and you can throw in literally whatever you want as your third unit. You can throw an Executioner you want with Cat, or you can just throw in a heavyweight unit like Zac. It's just fill in the blanks basically on the side of what you can make. Either one's fine. Next up we got is Hero Augments, and this one's the Kennen Hero Augment, where he becomes ranged. All the items you need is a Gwynsu's Rage Blade, a Jewel Gauntlet, and a +1 amplification item such as Strikers, or you can do Archangel Staff, or even Death Cap if you have to. But the easiest one to build would be Strikers, and it probably does a lot of damage too with it. Overall, you can make any unit a main tank. Like if you re-roll for Malphite 3 with Kennen, then you might as well make him the main tank. Or you could just fast level to 7, because when you hit level 7, then you can play around this. You always have to have at least 2 Supreme Cells, because if you don't, your Kennen will not be as strong. So in the early game, always have 2 Supreme Cell with as much protectors as you can. For example, level 5 board could be something like this, where you have at least good amount of protectors and also 2 Supreme Cells, which is pretty decent to have. And then when you hit level 6, you can alternate having another Supreme Cell. And then level 7, you can throw in 2 protectors, take out 1 Supreme Cell. If you can find a Cassante, then you can throw a Cassante in and a Nico. So now you have 6 protector. And if you have extra AD items left over, such as IE and Edge of Knight +1, you can do all out fruit on Cassante. This will be fine. And then when you hit level 8, then you can throw in a +1 Supreme Cell unit. Just take out Kai'Sa later because she's kind of useless, and just throw in Akali. That'll be fine for extra frontline. And you can position something like this is fine. Or you can get rid of Daruis and throw in J4 instead, because he also gets Strategist on the board, so you have extra stats instead of having Daruis on the board, which doesn't really do much. At least Akali can somewhat hit the backline, so she's somewhat useful. But if you don't want to do all-out Cassante, he could be your main tank, and you just play tank items on Cassante. That's fine as well. Either one works overall. Good fruits you could put on Kennen could be like Ramping Rage. This allows Kennen to keep attacking a lot more. Or Final Form is also okay after stage 5-2. then this unit becomes 4-star unit. If you do have the protagonist augment, don't take this fruit. Or if you can't find any good fruits, double strike is fine on Kennen. Next up we got is the Malphite hero augment, and the way how you build him is you put all attack speed items on him, such as Rage Blade, Titans, and then Lifesteal Bloodthirster. You always have to have at least Winsu's Rage Blade and Titans so he can like do a lot of damage and stay alive long enough. And +1 lifesteal item. It could be anything basically, but Bloodthirster is best. And to finish this board off, you kind of need 4 protectors, so Malphite could just keep smacking people away. You use all the crew units so you can 3-star them and potentially get a lot of crew damage from the rockets that you can get. And I feel like there's no point for me to show the early game since it's just crew. You just play your Sivir plus Gnar, throw out Malphite, then level 4, throw out Janna, then level 5, throw out Shen 3, level 6 and 7, throw out 2 more protectors, level 8, throw out J4 or TF, either one's fine, then level 9, then just throw out one of them again. The main tip I can give for this comp is always build at least a voice staff on the board. Just put it on Ziggs, and if you find TF, then you can swap it and put on TF instead. Say for example, you also have anti-heal items such as Red Buff or Merlocon. They're actually really good items on TF and building Rage Blade. So these items are actually good on Ziggs as well. So you can have Ziggs as the item holder until you find TF2, then just transfer the items over, since TF is a stronger unit overall than Ziggs. But it's hard to say though, since they buff Ziggs, so it's totally up to you which one you want to use as the main carry. You can make Ziggs the main carry or the TF as the main carry as well. Either one is fine. A good fruit you could put on Malphite could be like 100 push-ups, because you're going to be rolling anyways, so that every time you roll 3 times you gain a lot of damage amp. So this fruit is actually probably like one of the best you could put on him. Next to that would be like Mage, because this makes the Malphite cast twice, so he could just knock people up twice, which is actually pretty useful. Or you could do Final Form if you're not playing the protagonist augment, because protagonist augment will give you a 4-star Malphite anyways. This fruit is not bad to have a 4-star Malphite on stage 5 too. The next hero augment we got is Garen. And surprisingly, the buffs on Garen actually made Garen a super tank. I've actually seen this comp win out, because the more times he casts, the more times he gains permanent HP. And they buffed it by 1. And that 1 extra permanent HP he gets per round actually improves a lot. And also scales too with the more battle academies you have on the board, so therefore he gets even more HP. Essentially, you want to build the same thing like Malphite, which is BT, Rage Blade, and Titans, because every time he auto attacks, he can keep casting his ability. And Titans give him some damage, also gives him CC immunity, so you just run people down with his autos. The main thing they say here about automation is you kind of need even Shroud on your main tank, either Leona or Rakan 3 if you do make him level 3, totally up to you. And you can also play Ezreal 3 if you want with Garen 3. That's also okay to do. If you want to, because you're rolling, you can also roll for Syndra 3 if you want, over having Zyra at level 8. So at least you have a lot of potential like rerolls on the board. And the main part here is the anti-heal. You can either make Merlocon on Yuumi or Red Buff. Either one is fine. Unless you're playing Ezreal 3, then you might as well put items on Ezreal 3 would be kind of better, to be honest. Or you can just put anti-heal on your main tank, whichever one. It could be Rakan or Leona. Either one is fine. In all honesty, I actually don't like playing Ezreal 3. I would rather have Yuumi as the main carry. Even if Ezreal's level 3, Yuumi will be stronger overall. So I would say the best play would be, even if you 3-star Ezreal, just transfer the items over once you hit Yuumi too. The best fruits I can say you could put on Garen would be Trickster, because this allows him to jump the backline. And you notice here that you can only get it before stage 3, so if you try to get Trickster later, you can't. Over 9000 is also really good on Garen, because any stats is actually pretty strong on him, so this will be really helpful for him to do extra damage or be extra tanky. If not, like all the other 1-cost hero augments, you can do Final Form if you're not playing protagonist augment, because this allows you to gain a 4-star at 5 too, so this is pretty useful overall. And in all honesty, the second fruit I would say put on Yuumi. So basically Bullet Hell or Star Stun would be best. Unless you can't get Yuumi too, then Leona is fine with either Resistant or Unstoppable. Unstoppable is actually pretty good in this case, compared to playing the Yuumi Prodigy board. Next up we got is the Zac hero augment, and I feel like this is the only way to play KO. So if you don't have this hero augment, don't play KO since they've nerfed her. But essentially you can reroll both Zac and KO. You're gonna need a lot of rods, since you're gonna need Rage Blade and AP items on KO, and perfect AP items on Zac. The best way you can put on him is Archangel Staff plus Jewel Gauntlet, so you can actually one-shot everything. And last item could be Hodge, or you can build Bloodthirster. Either one's fine. Put your tank items on Poppy, but you can make Kubuko or Aatrox the early item holder. Either one is fine. It's just whatever you can up until Poppy 2. And even though you don't have Duelist in for KO, it's fine, because Zac's just gonna one-shot everything, while KO is just there just to shred all magic resist away. Then when you hit level 8 and 9, just throw out more Wraith units, and that's basically about it. There's not really much to say about this comp. It's just, as soon as you 3-star Zac and KO, basically like the KO board, just fast 9. The fruit you can put on Zac is basically Final Form, because if you 4-star him, he actually is a lot stronger. Unless you have the protagonist augment, don't take this. And this is also pretty good on KO as well. Another really good fruit on Zac would be over 9,000 because extra bonus stats actually helps him a lot in the long run. Or Not Done Yet is also pretty decent on Zac because you gain 10% Omni Vamp and you gain way more HP. But in order for this to activate, Zac has to die at least 8 times. So this means he might be on a lose streak for a bit. But the end result is actually pretty good overall. And for the second fruit, you can put it on KO. Same thing, over 9,000 is fine on her. Or you can do fruits like Final Ascension's pretty decent. If not, maybe Shadow Clone, so you can have double KOs on the board. That's also pretty decent. It would help with Zac extra damage on the board because you're shredding a lot of magic resist, since KO has built-in magic resist shred, only for about 20% though, not really 30% like voice staff. So either fruit is fine on KO. The last hero augment we can talk about here is Vi, and essentially you could build almost anything on her, to be honest. Like you could put Edge of Knights, i.e. Hodge, or you could do Sterak instead of Edge of Knight's fine, or maybe Titans is decent. I wouldn't really recommend it, but if you have to build it, it's okay. Instead of Hodge, you can build Bloodthirster. Basically, as long as you have IE, you can flex around the items. But the main thing to talk about this comp is, if you're gonna pick this comp, you're gonna need at least a sword item to start off with. If you don't have IE, Bloodthirster, or maybe Edge of Knight to start with, you're gonna get AF. Because the way how Hero Augment Vi works is, every time you get a kill, you have a 35% chance, or it's higher, something like that, to gain loot. And that loot will progress your gameplay even further. So if you do pick this hero augment, just remember to have a sword item on hand. And other than that, Mundo could hold debuff items like Even Shrouds on Fire is fine. And you can play either Jhin as your secondary carry with extra 80 items, or you can play Kaisa reroll. Either one's fine. It's just as long as you have some sort of backline damage. The best hero augments you can find is Trickster. This allows you to one-shot backlines pretty easily with Vi, since she's just gonna fly there and just kill everything. Over 9,000 is pretty decent on Vi, just because extra stats help. Or you can do Unflinching, which I kind of prefer, is actually really good on Vi. Says you're gonna gain Omni Vamp, and you also have 15% of immunity. Or Not Done Yet is also pretty decent, but same thing like Zac. The drawback is Vi has to die 8 times in order for this to pop, but it is a really good amount of stats for her, which is actually useful. Next up we got is the most innovative comp in set 15, and that would be GP Mentor. Even with the nerfs, it's still really strong. I'm like top 4ing non-stop with him to gain some sort of LP. In order to play this comp, you need at least a Kraken no matter what with a Guinsoo's Rage Blade. The reason why you want to put these 2 items on him, because the more you auto attack, the more damage your ability would do. And since Gangplank is an attack fighter, every time you auto attack, he gains 10 mana. So Guinsoo's Rage Blade is basically like Shojin on him. And +1 item to make him stay alive, which would be Edge of Knight. You can flex around with like other artifacts, such as instead of Guinsoo's Rage Blade, you can do Flicker Blades. And instead of Edge of Knight, you can do any ranged item like Sniper's Focus or Rapid Fire Cannon or even Fish and Bones. Basically, all these artifacts are really OP on him. You'll basically win out. But the default would be Kraken with Guinsoo's Rage Blade and Edge of Knight. And always have an Even Shroud on Kubuko, so you can have some sort of armor break on the board. And technically, you're supposed to use Senna, but I say J42 is better because extra CC on the board. If you don't have 4 Mentor yet, you can flex around between whatever the best board you can build, or you can play 5 mech. Either one's fine. Just as long as you have either Udyr or Kubuko in, and then just flex around with whatever you can. But essentially, when you hit level 7, you want a 3-star GP. Once you 3-star him, you can put in other units like Senna or Young. And when you hit level 9, you can play this as your full board. And I like to do something like this for positioning, because this allows you to have maximized amount of damage and CC. Personally, I like to put Yon right here, and then J4 on this side. But yeah, basically about it. I feel like most of us know how to play this comp, and it's really easy to play. For GP fruit, the only one you want to put on is Stretchy Arms, but if you have to choose a fruit that you can put on early game, Midas Touch would be the best for early game so you can gain farm. If you don't hit Stretchy Arms, it's kind of GG. The second you want to put fruit on is Kubuko. Now, I'll say the best one is Unstoppable, because he could just run people down, it's extra CC. If not, you can do Resistant, or any tank ones you can find is okay. The next comp we got here is, if you cannot play GP, you can also play Ashe, because they kind of built the same items. The only difference is you built double Kraken instead of having Edge of Knight. Or Edge of Knight's also fine, because this makes Ashe last a lot longer. But essentially, you want a better third item. You can transfer Edge of Knight to Zyra later, and look for maybe another Guinsoo's Rage Blade, Giant Slayer, maybe Gunblade. But technically, the best third item could be another Kraken. Unless you get Flicker Blades, then you basically just win the game, because this item is actually super broken on Ashe. And this comp is actually pretty easy. It's just play Gnar early game, put as much Juggernaut as you can, build this board, play a 3rd Crystal Gambit unit. It could be Zyra, it could be Janna, until you find Zyra, then you just put Zyra in later. And then just hit level 9, and you can throw out TF, or you can throw out 2 level 2 Ashe. Either one is fine. But yeah, essentially it's just play this board, hit level 9, play your best board. That's it. There's not really much to say. As long as you have Even Shroud on your tank, so Ashe can do extra damage, that's all you need. The best fruits I can say you can put on Ashe is Shadow Clone is actually really good, because you have more arrows on the board. Or any of these S tier ones you see here, like Desperado, Guna Huna, and Double Strike is also pretty good. But I would say what's actually really powerful in Ashe is Bullet Hell. Even though it says C tier for the reason, is actually really good on Ashe because she shoots out a lot of arrows. It's technically like budget version of Shadow Clone, so they're both pretty much the same, but Shadow Clone's just better overall because since Ashe is an attack speed unit, even though the Shadow Clone only does 25% damage total, it's still gonna do a lot because you're just firing a lot of shots over and over. So Shadow Clone would be like this on her. The second fruit you want to put on is Set, which is gonna be your main tank, and you put Resistance so you can just like last longer on the board. Or what I like to do, Tank Zilla probably might be best since he's gonna last long enough for this stun to happen on the board. Since you're playing 6 Juggernaut, this fruit will help a lot to make Ashe do a lot of damage. The last 2 comps I'm going to talk about here are both level 9 boards, and this one is the Twisted Fate Juggernaut version. The strat to play this board, if you want to win overall for Fast 9 with either this board or the next board I'm going to show, is you put Guinsoo's Rageblade and Shojin on your main carry. So early game board could be whatever, as long as you have those 2 items. Like it could be a Kaisa unit, because Kaisa actually holds both Guinsoo's Rageblade and Shojin really well. If not, maybe it can be like a Gnar is also fine. Or if you have to, maybe even Sivir is okay to hold both of these items. Just play your strongest board, win streak very hard, then you can play Fast 9 board. You need Guinsoo's Rageblade, Red Buff, and Last Whisper. And even though Last Whisper sounds weird on TF, because he's an auto attack champion that hits 3 units, his ability also does physical damage as well, so therefore he hits harder with it. And you can just put Voice Staff on Zyra, this works as well. So essentially is, if you have enough money to Fast 9, you can just play for TF carry, it's fine. So anything like Ashe, the best fruit you can put is Shadow Clone, because basically TF is just gonna do a lot of auto attacks, and the more auto attacks on the board, the better. And you can't do Frost Touch anymore, they took it away, so they don't have this on TF anymore. There is a trick that you did last patch where in order to win, you have Frost Touch on both TF and Ashe, but now you can't do it anymore. If not, you can do Ramping Rage, is actually really good on him, because this is technically free attack speed, so you can just keep autoing over and over. And same thing like the last comp, the second fruit you want to put on is Set. It's just whatever tank ones you can find. If you have extra 80 items instead, you can play this Fast 9 board, which is the Varus carry with TF. And your main tank's going to be K'Sante with this board. There's a lot of synergies you can see here, but the main thing you have to pivot is a Gnar 1. If you are going to play this comp, because you're going to need Luchador with Braum, and Braum also gets Bastion with Swain, and the rest of the board synergizes really well together. Twisted Fate with Last Whisper Voice Staff is really good, and anti-heal. And same strat as the other level 9 board. As long as you have Shojin, or maybe Guinsoo's Rageblade, that's all you need. You can put Guinsoo's Rageblade on TF, maybe Voice Staff on Zyra is fine. And then some sort of anti-heal item like Red Buff or Morellacon. But Twisted Fate is the best Last Whisper holder, so you can build Last Whisper early, it's fine, and then play to this board. So the difference between this board and the last board is that it's just depending if you have AD or AP items. If you have extra AP items, you play for Zyra carry and just play the full Juggernaut instead, because Varus with no items is useless. If you have extra AD items left over, then just play this board. The best fruits you could put on Varus would be like Doom Barrage, because this allows you to have more DPS since arrows cost less mana, and you also gain a lot of mana back for every kill. So this means that he'll be casting forever. If not, you can put Shadow Clone or Demolitionist, which personally I don't think any of these are good. I just always pick Doom Barrage and just make him one-shot everything. Even Precision is also pretty good because he'll basically one-shot everything. So I feel like these two are like the best. And the second unit you want to fruit would be K'Sante for your main tank. I would say Unstoppable is the best, or Resistance. Don't really do All Out. They did nerf it this patch, but I feel like All Out K'Sante with full tank items is kind of grief. So it's just better to do any of the tank ones. This side comp that I'm going to be talking about here, I kind of experiment with it. It's actually pretty good, but it's too specific. In order to play this comp, you need a specific fruit to play with Daruis, because you get a fruit called Fusion Dance. And what this fruit does is it allows you to basically absorb a unit that's closest to the ally. So therefore you take their stats, like 45% of it. So for this board's case, you put Daruis next to Jace, you 3-star both of them, and you put flat stats on him, such as like Warmongs and Deathblades, or you could do double Warmongs, either one's fine. Just as long as you have pretty good amount of stats, Daruis would eat Jace, and Daruis would become super tanky and has decent amount of damage, just one-shotting everything. And Kaisa technically would be your secondary carry, just having Last Whisper and some sort of anti-heal like Red Buff, or you can build Morellacon, either one's fine, but mainly just Last Whisper is all you need on Kaisa. And you just play all heavyweights, just let Daruis do his thing. Basically about it for this comp. It could be meta, it could not be. I don't know if you guys want to try it out, feel free to do so. But I feel like this comp could be good later down the line. And that's it for all the safest comps you could play to gain LP in the current patch of 15.2a. If you have any questions about any comps, just let me know in the comment section down below, or you can check out my live stream, either one's fine, on YouTube or Twitch. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next one. Later.